Alright, peeps, we're looking at absolute value equations today, finally. So we're looking at if the absolute value of x equals 7, what are the possible values of x, right? So the absolute value of x. Now, again, the absolute value is the distance away from 0. So I want to know what number I can plug in place of x and take the absolute value of it to get positive 7. Well, you have two answers. X could be 7 or x could be negative 7. Because even if I plug negative 7 in, when I take the absolute value of it, it becomes positive. But in this case, what can I plug in place of x and take the absolute value of it to be negative 4? That's not possible. So the answer is none. And the reason being is that x cannot be negative 4 away from 0, right? Because again, absolute value is distance away from 0. So you cannot have a negative 4 distance. Okay, so the steps to solve an absolute value equation, we're going to isolate the absolute value expression. We're going to create two cases. We're going to create two cases. We're going to set the inside equal to both the positive and the negative values of the number. Okay, on the opposite side of the equal sign, we're going to solve and we're going to check to make sure that the solutions are correct. But now, what is this word right here? Extraneous solutions. Extraneous solutions means solutions that do not work in the original equation. Sorry, do not in the original equation. Right, so we're going to find our solution and we're going to check it to make sure that it makes sense. Alright, so number 3. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to set up two different cases. Right, we're going to set up two different cases. So the first case, I'm going to take it just like it is. I'm going to drop my absolute value and I'm going to say x minus 9 equals 5. The second case, I'm going to set this, the negative of that, equal to that piece right there. So x minus 9 equals negative 5. And I'm solving both these cases for x, right? So all I got to do is add 9 to both sides. I get x equals 14. Okay, and I got the same thing. I'm going to add 9 to both sides, and I get x equals 4. Now, there are my two answers. I need to plug these back in and make sure that it makes the equation or the absolute value true, right? So if I take the absolute value of 14 minus 9, do I get positive 5? Absolutely. So that is a solution. Same thing here. I take the absolute value of 4 and I subtract 9. Do I get 5? Well, the absolute value of negative 5 is still positive 5. So yes, that is also a solution. Okay, so I get both solutions. X is positive 4 and 14. Looking at number 5. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, but now I want to isolate for this absolute value. Right? So the first step is to isolate for the absolute value expression. So I need to get rid of this positive 17. So it's subtracted on both sides, and I get the absolute value of y minus 1 is equal to 6. Now we're going to set up our two cases just like we did here. So I've got the absolute value. I'm going to drop the absolute value, excuse me. I've got y minus 1 equals positive 6, and I've got y minus 1 equals negative 6. Right, so now we're solving for y, so we're going to add 1 to both sides. We get y equals 7, and we get y equals negative 5. Once again, we want to check these to see if they're both solutions in my absolute value. Right, so we can check them right here. So I'm going to take the absolute value of 7 minus 1, and I get positive 6. Perfect. So now 7 is a solution. Same thing with negative 5. I'm going to take the absolute value of negative 5 minus 1. Minus 1. Let's fix that. So the absolute value of negative 6 is still a positive 6. So that is a solution also. So my two solutions are negative 5 and positive 7. Looking at number 17. Okay, again, we're going to isolate from my absolute value equation. So right now it's 16 times that. So we need to divide by 16 on both sides. We get the absolute value of r minus 5 equals negative 2. Okay, so now once again we're going to go ahead and solve for, okay, now the answer is no solution. right? And I know this right off the bat. How do I know this right off the bat? Because that negative right there, there's no way, there's nothing that I can plug in and then take the absolute value of it to get a negative number, right? So if your solution, if your absolute value equation is equal to a negative number, there is no solutions. There is no solutions. Because again, there is no way for me to get a distance, a negative distance away from 0. Distance is always positive. So number 7, no solutions. Flip our paper over. Looking at number 9, again, we need to isolate for the absolute value. Right, we're going to isolate for the absolute value. So I need to add 11 to get it over here. So add 11 to both sides. So I get 6 equals the absolute value of 8 minus p. Now again, I'm going to set up my two cases. Right, so 8 minus p is equal to 6, and 8 minus p is equal to negative 6. We're solving for p. Okay, so I'm going to solve for p. I get negative p equals negative 2, so p equals positive 2. Same thing here. I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. I get negative p equals negative 14, therefore p equals positive 14. Once again, we want to check to make sure these are both solutions in my absolute value. So I've got 6 equals 8 minus 2. So 6 equals 6, bam. So we know that 2 is a solution. Okay, same thing here. I've got 14, so I'm going to plug that in. So I've got 6 equals the absolute value of 8 minus 14, which again is a solution, right? 8 minus 14, take the absolute value of it and it becomes positive. Bop. So both of those are solutions. Looking at number 11, same thing. I need to isolate for my absolute value. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is get rid of this 9, so we're going to subtract 9 on both sides. Negative 4 times c plus 10 equals negative 24. Next step, divide by negative 4. So the absolute value of c plus 10 is equal to positive 6. Holy smokes. So again, set up our two cases. Okay, so we're good. We got c plus 10 equals 6, and we got c plus 10 equals negative 6. Solve, and we get c equals negative 4, and c equals negative 16. Now again, let's check those. Okay, let's check those. So we've got 9 minus 4 times negative 4 plus 10 is equal to negative 15. Okay, so 9 minus 24 is equal to negative 15. Perfect. So that's a solution. Same thing here. We've got 9 minus 4 times negative 6 equals negative 15. Sorry. Alright, so now we got 9 minus 24 equals negative 15. So negative 15 equals negative 15. Check. So C equals both solutions. Alright, let's go to number 15. Number 15 has an extraneous solution. So let's look at what that looks like. Alright, so once again, same process applies, right? We're going to solve for isolate for my absolute value equation. Alright, so what I need to do is I need to get rid of this 5n. I'm going to add 5n to both sides. So I've got the absolute value of 8 minus 2n is equal to 6n plus 2. Now, once again, we're going to take both solutions, right? We're going to make one of them positive, one of them negative. So here is my 8 minus 2n is equal to 6n plus 2. So that's the positive. And then we're also going to take the negative, right? The negative is 8 minus 2n is equal to negative. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and say negative parentheses 6n plus 2, right? Because we're going to take the negative of that. Okay, so this is basically going to read 8 minus 2n equals negative 6n minus 2. We're going to take the negative of the whole thing. Alright, so that's a very important point there. Okay, so now, once again, we're solving for n, right? So let's isolate our variables. So we're going to add 2n to both sides. 8. Sorry, let's go ahead and subtract 2 also. Make it one less step. So we got 6 equals 8n. Last step, divide by n, so we get n equals 3/4. Okay, same thing here. Let's add 6n. Let's subtract 8. So negative 10 equals 4n. So then n equals negative 5/2. Now let's go ahead and check both of those. Right, let's check both of those. So we've got 8 minus 2 times 3/4 minus, I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. So 5 times 3/4 is 15/4 equals 3/4 plus 2. All right, now that checks out. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this negative 5/2. Right, so we're plugging in here. So I've got 8 minus 2 times negative 5/2, the absolute value of that, minus 5 times negative 5/2 equals 5/2 plus 2. Okay, now when I plug that in, that does not give me the right answer. Right, so I've got the absolute value of 8, and then I'm going to multiply these so these cancel out. I've got plus 5 minus a negative 25/2 equals 5/2 plus 2. Okay, and then you can do the math, and you see that I have 13 plus 25/2 equals 5/2 plus 2. Okay, those are not going to equal each other. Okay, so if they do not equal each other, if it is not a true statement, then that's what we call an extraneous solution. Right, because it doesn't make the original equation true. So my answer is only this one. Because when I found n is that, but when you plug it back in, it does not make my inequality true.